Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our webinar on IPM performance for the month of October. The month of October has been quite encouraging for many of the corporates, many of the therapies, and a very robust value volume growth shown across. Now, let us look at how the IPM looks like for the month of October, and the sections we have broken up today's presentation into the following sections. IPM performance, we look at the key therapies. This month, what we have tried to do is we have tried to dig a little deeper in some of the key therapies to understand how the different levels of corporates are impacting the growth of the therapy, and also how are the different subsections within each therapy, they have impacted the growth of the therapy. Then we look at the growth drivers, the top 40 corporates, the top 40 brands, key takeaways, and we have a very interesting discussion with Mr. Alok Malik in Opinions That Matter. Coming in the top therapies, if you see, IPM for the month of October has shown a very good growth of 7%, though unit growth seems to be a little negative. Among the top therapies, the cardiac, the respiratory, the derma, and the gynec, these are the four therapies which have shown a very good double-digit value growth. However, if you were to look at the unit growth of these top therapies or the unit growth of the other top therapies, we do not see that robust or double-digit unit growth. This indicates to us that majority of the growth that the therapies have shown for the month of October is a price-driven growth. As we look at the growth drivers section, probably we will get some more insights into this area. What we have done this month is we have tried to dig a little deeper and try to see how the different corporates, how the different sections within each therapy are impacting the growth of the IPM or that therapy. What I keep on always saying is the top 40 companies, they contribute to around 70% of the IPM. And in these top 40 companies, if you see the top 20 corporates, they contribute to almost 50% of the IPM, whereas the next contribute to around 20% of the IPM. Does the same skew exist in the rest of the therapies? To understand this, we have taken 5 therapies, 2 from the acute segment, 2 from the chronic segment, and 2 from the subchronic segment. So we have taken cardiac and anti-diabetes from the chronic segment, anti-infectives and nutritionals from the acute segment, and gastro from the subchronic segment. If you see the number of players that we capture in the IPM in our audit are around 865. There may be many more players in the market, but if you see the number of players which exist in the key therapies or the chronic therapies are relatively lesser. The number of players in the cardiac and the anti-diabetes segment are somewhere in the range of 200 to 300. Whereas the number of players in the anti-infectives, gastro, and the nutritional segment are 600 plus. So it indirectly indicates that the markets, some of the chronic therapy markets are probably tough markets, and the prescriber base is limited, and you require a different level of engagement while operating in the chronic therapies. If you look in the cardiac therapies, the top 40 companies, they contribute to around 80% of the market, whereas the balance, they contribute to around 20%. In the anti-diabetes segment, the skew is even more. The top 40 companies, they contribute to 85% of the market, whereas the balance, they contribute to around 16%. Now, this is despite the fact that there have been many corporates which have jumped into the diabetes segment to take advantage of the patent loss of the innovator molecules. Now, we did not expect the phenomena to look like this, but interestingly, even in the anti-infectives therapy, we see that the top 40 companies contribute to almost 85% of the market, and the balance, they contribute to 14% of the market. Interestingly, it is the top 20 companies which contribute to almost 70% of the anti-infective segment. If I were to dig a little deeper, understand the anti-infective segment a little deeper, we understand that there are a lot of legacy brands which operate in this segment. Probably that is the reason why this skew is seen. Then we looked at how does this breakup impact the growth of the market, for which we have looked at the MAT October value growth and the month October value growth for the therapy overall, the top 20 corporates, that is rank 1 to rank 20, the next 20 corporates, that is rank 21 to rank 40, and the corporates beyond rank 40. So if we look at the growth for the MAT, we see that it is the top 20 corporates that have done well. and the corporates beyond 40 who have, I wouldn't say done well, but show a relatively better growth. It is this segment between rank 21 to rank 40 where the growth is on the lower side. If I were to look for the month of October, we see that almost all the companies seem to have recovered and the growth seems to be coming back on track. Then we looked at individual therapy to understand the different companies and the sections. So I have kept this column constant, these two columns constant with respect to the previous slide. But over here, what I have done is I have looked at the top 20 companies. The ones in green are the companies who are in the top 10 in the IPM at a MAT level. The next, the ones in blue are the ones who are at rank 11 to 20. In the cardiac segment, if you see, there are close to 7 companies which are there in the in the top 10 position in the IPM, and they also stay in the top 10 position or among the top 10 players in the cardiac segment. Interestingly, companies like USV, Glenmark, MQR, which are in rank 11 to 20 in the IPM, they come among the top 10 players in the cardiac segment. Also, the ones which I have highlighted in yellow color are the companies which are beyond rank 20, but then they come among the top 20 players in the cardiac segment. If I were to look at the subsections within the cardiac therapy, how it has contributed to the growth or how much growth have they seen, antihypertensives is the biggest subsection in the cardiac segment where the growth has been moderate. But the other segments, subsections where the contribution may be another 30% or so to the cardiac therapy, there the growth has been quite robust at a month level as well as the MAT level. Coming to the anti-infective segment, you see companies like Aristo, GSK, MQR, which come in the rank 11 to 20 segment in the IPM. They are among the top players or they are among the top 10 players in the anti-infective segment. FDC, Alembic, Hetero, Indoco, who are beyond or the companies which are beyond rank 20, they fall in the top 20 players in the IPM as far as the anti-infective segment is concerned. As far as the subsections is concerned, if you look at the antibacterials, which is more than 80% of the contributing section for the anti-infectious therapy, the growth is quite moderate. However, if you look at the antifungals and the antivirals, which collectively contribute to around 40 to 15% of the anti-infective segment, the growth is significantly negative. And we can make out that it is a COVID impact because majority or the major play had happened in the antiviral segment in the COVID times for actual treatment of the condition. And antifungals also played a good role for taking care of the side effects of the COVID treatment. Coming to the gastrotherapy, which I consider is a subchronic therapy having characteristics of the chronic as well as the acute segment, a good number of players among the top 10 stay in that top 10 position. Aristo and DRL, which are ranked 11 to 20, which fall in the rank 11 to 20 segment, have moved to the top 10 segment. Interesting part is companies like Himalaya, Cadila, JB Chemicals, FDC, Medley, Blue Cross, almost 6 companies which are not even in the rank 1 to 20, they have moved in the top 20 segments for the gastro segment. Unlike the previous two therapies of cardiac as well as anti-infectives, where there were certain or 2 to 3 segments which contribute to more than 80% of that therapy, we see that in gastro, the sections are quite fragmented. It takes around 6 to 7 segments to come together to contribute to around 80% of the gastrotherapy. The biggest section is the antacid segment or antacid section where the growth is quite moderate. But for the rest of the sections, we are showing a very good and robust value growth as well as the volume growth. Coming to the diabetes therapy, smaller companies like Boehringer, MSD, they have managed to move in the top 10 positions as far as the anti-diabetes segment is concerned. Other players like Eris, Novartis, Biocon, Franco also come in the top players in the anti-diabetes segment. At the same time, if you see Abbott, USP, Lupin, Sun, Mankind, Intas, close to 6 players have retained their leadership position, or I would say the top 10 player position in the anti-diabetes segment. If you see the combinations as well as planes, if you see the growth in the anti-diabetes segment seems to be a very moderate growth as far as value is concerned. However, if I were to look at this growth in terms of units, the growth would have been quite big. It should have been a double-digit growth. The reason was many of the generics have, many of the innovators have lost their patents in this period, and there are a lot of generic players which have entered the segment. These generic players have pushed the unit or quantity growth in the diabetes segment, anti-diabetes segment. However, the value that they have given, or the price per tablet, the price per strip, or the cost of therapy has reduced significantly. So in terms of volumes, the volumes may have become threefold, but the price or cost of therapy after these generics coming into the market has come to one third. That's the reason why we see a very moderate value growth. Coming to the nutritional segment, you see Danone, Apex, P&G Health, Mayer, Laranon, Eris, Raptacos, Farmed. They have moved in the top positions or rankings in the top 1 to 20 as far as the anti-infective segment is concerned. Again, anti-infective segment, because of the immunobooster properties, had a significant role to play in COVID times. As far as the growth is concerned, we don't see that much negative impact at this point of time. So this market also seems to have recovered, and mineral section is the one which has recovered the most. This was all about the top 5 therapies, understanding how the different companies, how the different sections in the top therapies have contributed. Now, for the IPM, the top therapies contribute, or the top 10 therapies, they contribute to 90% of the IPM. And the ones that we have selected, they contribute to 50% of the IPM. So to a great extent, this gives us a flavor of how the different companies or how the different subsections impact the growth of the different therapies. Then coming to the growth drivers, we have seen as this month, to a great extent, the growth is driven by price growth. In fact, this phenomena has been existing for the last 4 to 5 months. If you see, before the month of June, the price-driven growth was contributing to around 5%, whereas this contribution has increased to 6% in the last 4 months. Does this phenomena exist across all the top therapies of the IPM? Yes. In this chart, what we are seeing is for the month of October, we are seeing the price-led growth. This band of this bar of the price-led growth is the biggest in the month of October, except for anti-diabetes, where there are a lot of generics which have come into the market and have driven the growth, and the new introductions have driven the growth, not the price. Coming to the top 20 corporates, if you see, companies like Abbott, Intas, GSK, Glenmark are the ones which have shown a very robust double-digit growth, and the unit growth is also fairly good. How does the phenomena look in the next players, which are ranked 21 to 40? Eris, Alembic, Laranon, JP Chemicals, Franco, Hegde & Hegde, Medley, and Apex. These are the companies which have shown a very robust double-digit growth for the month of October. Coming to the different brands, Augmentin, Glycomed GP, Mixtard, they have returned their number 1, 2, and 3 position at a MAT level as well as for the month of October. Also, the brands which I've highlighted in green, Augmentin, Manforce, Foracort, Betadine, Thyronorm, Rosuvax, Zerodol, SP, PAN, Zincovit, Calpol, Orofor XT. These are the brands which have shown a very good double-digit growth for the month of October. If I were to look at the next brands ranked from rank 21 to 40, again, there are a good number of brands with a robust double-digit value growth as well as unit growth seen in the market today. So this was all about how the IPM has performed and what has impacted or influenced the growth of the IPM for the month of October. So if I were to talk about some of the key takeaways, among the top therapies, the cardiac, respiratory, derma, and gynec therapy have shown a robust double-digit value growth for the month of October. The growth primarily seems to be price-driven growth. While the top companies contribute to around 70% of the IPM, the contribution is even more skewed or is even more towards the top 40 companies, from the top 40 companies when it comes to chronic segment. Value growth seems to be stronger for the top 20 companies at MAT October level, while the rank 21 to 40 companies have done relatively well at month October level. Among the top 40 brands in the IPM, majority of them have shown a very good, robust double-digit value at unit growth. This was a gist of summary, or this gist or summary of the IPM performance for the month of October. Next, we move to our most awaited section of opinions that matter. wherein today we will be discussing on the essentials of interdepartment coordination to leverage the first mover advantage. Our speaker from the day for the day is Mr. Alok Malik, Executive Vice President and Business Head from Glenmark Pharmaceuticals.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Opinions That Matter. In this series of discussing brands that have done exceptionally well last year, we had an opportunity to have an interaction with Mr. Alok Malik, Executive Vice President and Business Head at Glenmark. We were talking to Alok sir on how did FabiFlu set itself apart in the crowded market when COVID had struck us and everyone wanted a solution to the problem. How did FabiFlu make it happen for itself? Sir, welcome to Opinions That Matter. Sir, the first thing I wanted to know was what was the journey of FabiFlu? Now, from the time when FabiFlu was launched in the country, almost in a time span of 15 to 20 days, we had the other brands also come into the picture. So, what was this journey all about for FabiFlu, and how did you achieve the milestones with FabiFlu?
So I think FabiFlu journey has been quite fabulous from the point of view that on 31st January, when we recorded first case in India, the discussion was going on in the organization that, I mean, this is something for which there is no treatment at this point of time available. I think we need to really do something onto this. So brainstorming had already started with all the related stakeholder and all. And within, I think, 2 or 3 weeks, we could identify certain targets that this is where we need to work upon. And since the organization has enough strength from end to end, in the sense that we have our own API also, so we started the work simultaneously. On one side, the formulation development, also on the other side, the API part of it, and also started working on to the necessary regulations, formalities that would be needed from the point of view that is the phase 2 study and the phase 3 study, dosage study. All those things we started working on to this because everything was new for the whole world, you know. So we were to target certain drugs which were already available and what could be repurposed for the treatment of COVID. So that was the clear objective, because even the WHO was looking into this and various other global companies are also looking into this. So that is how we targeted a few molecules, and this was one of them. And we saw initial success in the phase 2 studies, and subsequently then we quickly started phase 3, which was a major challenge, you know, because the first phase of COVID was quite devastating and the lockdown was very, very stringent. During that process, we were to do the clinical trial on around 300 odd patients at multiple centers across the country, doing all sorts of coordination and everything. So that is where the whole organization came together, be it regulatory, be it medical, be it formulation development, be it clinical research team that did wonderful job, and also the government affair team along with the regulatory team. And they all coordinated very well. There were project management was fabulous in the whole process. Almost 3 meetings every week we were having it in terms of the development progress. All the bottlenecks were being broken, and we could see that in less than 5 months we could bring up the product. On 20th of June, the product was available in the market with all regulatory approvals. So I think in the shortest possible time, with well orchestrated collaboration, coordination amongst all the stakeholders, and the basic strength of the organization having end-to-end capabilities to bring such molecules, as we have done this in the past as well, brought many first for Indian pharmaceutical market. I think that all helped together in bringing FabiFlu to help millions of COVID patients. We could treat more than 5 million patients. That's the record that we have in the shortest possible time, and could provide more than the treatment. We could provide a big hope to the clinicians, healthcare professionals, to the government agencies, and to the patients and to the public in general.
So, could you you please share with us how did FabiFlu achieve that mind market share with the HCPs, with the distributors, retailers, patients? Because if I understand this correct, during the COVID times when the entire country was under a lockdown, patients were relying a lot on the distributors and the retailers for the brand availability. These distributors and the retailers were actually the frontline warriors who were ensuring the availability of the brand. So, how did we achieve that mind market share with the distributors and the retailers?
Since favipiravir was already a off-patent drug and repurposed drug, so we knew that once we get the approval, based on our internal or Indian laws, the others will be able to follow through simple BE studies and all. So we knew this. Simultaneously, we also understood the importance that it is very, very critical for the HCPs and the patient that the product be made available all across the country as fast as possible. So our distribution channel, along with our distributors across the country, played extremely important role. Our field force, despite the COVID situation, and all of them were working from home, but they were brave enough to came out, considering the cause is so critical. And they met the stockists, retailers, doctors, and made the product available. And digital played a very important role. Till then, digital was not so critical or not the mainstay of medium of communication for not only for us but for everybody. But we started taking the advantage of that. We had a team, and we could quickly bring up those capabilities to the requirement that we started connecting around 1.5 lakhs doctors and almost same number of retailers on a 2 to 3 times in a week, providing them all kinds of information that was important for them to understand about the molecule and the availability of the product. We set up call center, for people to get the information. We also set up micro website, for the people to know, to get all kinds of information about the molecule, the availability. We provided all the stockist information across the country on our microsite so that people can access. Their telephone numbers were there, the contact person names were there, so that because retailer names was difficult to provide, but stockist names we knew that the stocks are there, so people can access that kind of a stocks. So we did massive availability of the product. And we did lots of scientific webinars, ad boards with the key opinion leaders, on pulmonologists, on physicians, on hospital doctors across the country, national level, regional level, state levels. We all went through consistently. We kept on doing this because people were hungry for the information about what to do in case of COVID. What are the kind of dosages, because there was a big challenge in terms of taking almost 60 tablets, at the beginning when it was only 200 milligram was available. So talking them about the compliance, giving them also about taking about patient consent, that was something new even for Indian doctors and Indian patients and retailers, all those things. So a lot of things were new. And that is why the frequency of communication was needed, that even if you have to over communicate, we do that because that was needed for the education. So we did a lot of work in terms of education of the HCPs, did a lot of work in terms of education of our own field force, in terms of distribution for the stockists and retailers. We did many webinars even for the stockists, for them to know about the overall product and the importance of this, and also did some general communication through media, for people to know about this. So this is how overall we carried out a massive communication efforts to ensure that people are aware about this and the brand reaches to all the corners of the country.
So one last question. What is the Glenmark philosophy when it comes to gaining dominance in the categories where it is present? What are the plans of the organization here?
So I think the organization differentiates itself with entire ecosystem that works within the organization. So it is not one individual, one function, but the whole philosophy of the organization that differentiates itself. So if you've seen Glenmark, so Glenmark is very focused as far as its chosen areas are concerned. We are present only into few therapy areas. If I had to tell you some statistics, we are present roughly into 20% of the IPM. That means we know where we need to put our resources. So resources are not only marketing, but we know where we need to put our resources in terms of development of formulations, new products, combinations, where we need to do phase 3 clinical trial, where we need to do phase 4 clinical trials or further clinical studies. So that way we are able to utilize our resources in the focus therapy areas. Second is the geographies also. Like unlike the whole IPM, our market share or salience in the metro and class 1 town is significantly higher than the class 2 to 4 towns or so, because again our entire deployment of field force and our resource deployment is also in those. So our segmentation is quite clear, our therapy focus is quite clear, and based on this our end-to-end integration is also quite clear. So when we need to go for API development, we know that which therapy area we need to work upon. So our identification of the molecules based on the HCPs and the patient need is in those therapy areas only. We are not looking into any new therapy areas because we believe that there is enough scope for us to go into the depth in the chosen therapy areas. So basically Glenmark differentiates itself through innovation, through its focus strategy into therapy areas, through its segmentation into the geographies, and working consistently in going deeper and deeper into these chosen therapy areas.
So thank you so much for your time. It was quite informative on how Glenmark works towards building brands, and no wonder there are so many brands from Glenmark which are top among their categories. Thank you so much, sir. And I also would take this opportunity to thank our audience for joining us this morning. Have a lovely day ahead, and also giving you a small reminder that the AWACS Awards are slotted for 22nd November this month. Thank you so much.